One day there is a maid named Kate, searching for Prince Oz and his sister Ida, and she is very annoyed because time is late and he must get ready for his birthday party. At the same time Oz and his sister are hiding inside the wardrobe, and Kate enters to one of the servants named Gilbert and asks him about Oz, so he tells her that he went outside with Ida. As soon as she leaves, Gilbert calls Oz and tells him you can come out now, so he and Ida get out and the three of them go to the castle later. Oz gets surprised when he looks at the wall clock and finds it stopped not moving, and suddenly Uncle Oscar appears and grabs Gilbert and Oz, and scolds them because they worried Kate. Suddenly they hear the sound of Kate coming back again, so Oz asks permission from his uncle to go out and play a little, and he goes out with his sister and Gilbert, and suddenly Ida asks Oz what is the abyss. He answers with surprise that it is a prison for bad people, and it is said if you get locked there you will never know how to get out again. Ida gets scared and asks Gilbert is not that the prison we read about before? He replies yes. And there is a person called the chain holder and he tortures criminals as the legend says. And after a while Oz gives Gilbert a fancy jacket, so Gilbert asks him with surprise is not that small on you? He replies no it is for you to wear at the party tonight. So Gilbert gets shocked and tells him no a servant like me cannot attend such a party, so Oz tells him you will not attend as a servant. You are my friend. Suddenly Oz hears strange music, so he follows its source to know what it is, but suddenly the ground breaks under him and he falls into a hole. So Gilbert goes down after him to make sure he is fine, and they both stand and find a tomb ahead. They get closer and Oz gets surprised when he finds a clock hanging, so he holds it and feels a very strange feeling, then he opens it and tries to run it and the music plays again. And suddenly he moves to a strange room full of scary dolls, and the dolls start moving alone and laughing creepily and telling him we have been waiting for you for a long time. A girl enters and silences them so Oz does not get scared. Then she approaches Oz saying I was waiting for you, and she attacks him and shockingly passes through him and keeps talking saying everyone hates me so no one ever came to me. So Oz asks her in fear who are you and what is this place? She replies with a strange question, what are you saying? Are you not used to come here always? He gets surprised because this is the first time he sees this place at all, but she keeps going and tells him yes when I am alone you come for me, and I do not mind staying here forever as long as I stay beside you. He answers her saying I do not know who you are at all, so she gets angry and throws the doll from her hand, and suddenly the doll bursts into flames, so Oz feels a headache and tells her stop these annoying voices, and instantly everything around him disappears and only black remains, and the girl stands behind him and tells him I will never forgive you, and remember no matter how you hide from me I will find you, and she chokes him a little then takes out a knife and strikes down on him. But Oz returns back to his world and feels that all of that was just a dream, and he closes the clock not understanding anything and takes it with him, and returns to his house again to get ready for the party, and he is still thinking of what happened and feeling suffocated, so he doubts that it was just a dream. At the same time Gilbert sits alone and is very nervous about the jacket Oz gave him, and suddenly one of the Shinigami group appears behind him and attacks him to take the jacket. At night at Oz's birthday party, Oscar calls him and introduces him to a girl named Sharon. After a while Sharon suddenly asks to leave, and shakes hands with Oz and suddenly tells him, since you completed 15 years you will be able to attend important parties. But there will be many people wanting to take your place and your big fortune, and others wanting the Duke's power you have, and each one of them will treat you as the head of the Bazarius family. But more important than all this, do not forget the people who stood by you and supported you, and then you will not lose yourself. She leaves and he stays with shock on his face, and Sharon rides the carriage with her follower Break, and tells him once he becomes the family leader he will come to us, and then I will not be the one to deal with him, it will be you. On the other side Uncle Oscar begins some traditions they do in their family when the child reaches age 15, and Oz enters the hall and is surprised that the clock is still stopped in its place. At the same time the Shinigami group is watching from afar, and one of them says I controlled Gilbert his friend. Among their traditions Oz goes up the stairs until he stands under the clock and says some words, but suddenly the clock makes a sound and all people around him freeze completely, so Oz goes down on his knees and gets shocked that the window breaks and the Shinigami group enter, and instantly Gilbert stabs Oz with the knife, and when his blood falls on the ground a magic gate is drawn, and it is the gate to the abyss. Suddenly the one controlling Gilbert kneels and tells them I lost control of him, and before Gilbert stabs him again the magic circle activates and the girl who must found himself in her room before comes out. So the Shinigami ask her are you coming to stop us? She answers them no, I came to take this child because he is mine. They tell her impossible, we allow you to take him from us. So she turns into a rabbit and the Shinigami call her B-Rabbit, and a very violent clash happens between them, and they manage to smash B-Rabbit strongly to the ground, and they think the fight is over but she stands up again and many chains come out from her keeping them away, and she jumps on them again and finishes most of them until one remains. Then B-Rabbit returns to human form and tells them sarcastically I will not kill you because you want to take him to the abyss, right? Oz gets shocked because he thought the abyss was just a legend used to scare kids, So B-Rabbit laughs and spreads her chains everywhere, and Gilbert wakes up again and grabs one of the Shinigami and asks them why they want to take him to the abyss, and suddenly with the flash of lightning Gilbert sees that person's face, so he gets shocked and stops in place. So Oz takes his sword and runs to kill the group member. But suddenly Gilbert stops and protects him and takes the strike instead. Oz trembles strongly and throws the sword, and falls on his knees and screams loudly, so B-Rabbit mocks what is happening, so one of the group cuts her to disappear. So she appears again behind Oz and tells him I will wait for you, and the group sees Oz and tell him we will judge you now. So chains appear tying him and pulling him to the abyss. When he wakes up and finds himself in a strange place, he starts walking to see how to get out of here, and he steps on a doll, and suddenly it laughs terrifyingly so he throws it quickly, but it disappears so he goes closer to see where it went. But the surprise is that it runs after him and jumps to attack him so he grabs it and throws it again. Then he finds a brick thrown at him so he looks and sees another doll. So he grabs an umbrella to protect himself with, and Oz retreats and sits on the ground not knowing what to do. But suddenly another huge doll appears and tries to catch him. So Oz gets up and runs fast until he finds a wall so the doll grabs him. Before it eats him the chains of B-Rabbit wrap around it, and squeeze it hard until it explodes. And she tells us you are so weak you cannot defeat them. So he asks her what are these creatures, so she explains that these are creatures born in the abyss and their name is Chain. So he asks are you one of them? She answers yes. So he tells her the Chain like to attack humans. Even you when I met you first time you wanted to kill me. She replies surprised what do you mean? I first met you when I saved you from the Shinigami. So he says at least you are not my enemy. You saved me twice. She answers him my real name is Alice. And I will give you the exception to call me that. And when he hears her name he feels a strange nostalgia inside. Then she continues and tells him, be careful I saved you for my own goals not for you. So he asks her what are you planning to do with me? She answers I want to leave the abyss and that is why I was waiting for someone like you to make a contract with. So he gets very surprised by her words, and she has to explain. So she tells him you must have noticed this prison is not normal. Because the abyss is actually in a different dimension from your world. And to open a gate to get me out I must make a contract with someone coming from another world. And she extends her hand to him and tells him to make the contract you must accept and say my real name. And before he puts his hand in hers he suddenly hears a voice warning him. And Oz is moved by a strange force to another place still in the abyss, and strangely he finds Sharon in front of him and she tells him if you had accepted her contract you would have died. But do not worry I am here to return you. So he starts walking with her but stops for a second and looks back. So she tells him among many chain this one is considered the most dangerous of them. And she wanted to make that contract to get out and ruin our world. So he asks surprised but she already appeared in our world before. She answers that is because she borrowed power coming from the abyss and was coming to make trouble and then kill any person who makes a blood contract with her. Oz thinks a little and tells her it is true she looks dangerous but she saved me twice until now. So Sharon laughs and asks him did not Alice point the knife at you and say she will kill you right? Oz gets shocked and asks her how did you know what happened? And how did you know her real name? And suddenly she turns and he finds her I became huge like a monster, and she says I failed, then she turns into a giant child head and tries to kill him. So Alice enters again and saves him, and tells us that is a chain who can create illusions to trick humans. And Alice takes him and escapes, so he asks her angrily what do you want from me? You know nothing about me. She answers him right I know nothing about you and all I wanted was to get out of here. But I heard the same music you heard and felt it brings back my memories. So I searched for it and found you. And then I understood you are the key to get me out of here. Suddenly the child monster appears again and ties Alice and swallows her. So Oz opens the monster's mouth and says I will contract with you Alice, and by that he fulfills the contract terms so the monster explodes and Alice enters inside him, and instantly he comes out of the abyss to his world, and appears in front of Sharon and Break and Raven. So Break gets surprised that he could come out of the abyss alone after this short time. The next day Oz wakes from the coma and finds Raven in front of him reminding him of Gilbert, and he looks around and finds Sharon so he remembers the monster that took her form so he gets frightened, and tells them we will not be tricked again and tries to leave the place. So Break laughs and tells him you still think you are in the abyss? When he realizes he is in the real world he asks them about Gilbert and Ida, and Break reassures him they are fine and then they bring him food. Oz sits and tells them I cannot believe the abyss turned out real. What is the abyss anyway? But instead of answering they ask him what happened with you in the abyss. So he tells them what happened and they ask him and where is B-Rabbit now? He tells them I do not know, and he takes out the clock he found and runs the melody, and tells them it attracted her and that is why she found me. Suddenly Break says we now have no choice but to imprison you. So Oz gets shocked and Break asks him have you heard about the Pandora organization? He replies I remember it is like national security, He tells him no, it is a group that makes research about the abyss and solves its cases. And you pass through the gate that links this world with it. And because of that the other chain will be able to pass through the same gate. And of course when they arrive here they will need to look for suitable humans to settle in. And we call that an illegal contract. So Oz asks them, who are you anyway? So they show him the badge of the Pandora organization and they are members in it. And suddenly Oz hears Alice's voice in his head. And she makes him grab a knife. And Break takes Oz and they go out to lock him, and suddenly he pulls the knife and frees his hand, and threatens them that he will kill Sharon. So Break realizes the one doing that is B-Rabbit, not Oz. And the strange thing is he tells her it took long to make you show up. So she understands he was trying to provoke her in the first place. And he asks her, what are you planning then? She replies, you do not need to know, stay away from my way. So he tells her, I cannot leave a dangerous chain like you, and the knife flies from her hand and he pushes her. Then he makes a magic circle under her to pin her in place, and he hits Oz's body with a magic stick so Alice comes out of him. And he asks her, you are in this human form because your power was sealed, right? Oz gets surprised by what he said. So he tells him she has huge power actually. And if you are not careful she will eat you slowly and kill you in the end. And also, do you not notice she is the only chain with a human form? Alice replies, do not stand in my way. I came to this world to search for my lost memories. Since I woke in the abyss I only remember my name. So I realized my shattered memories are in this world, and she grabs the knife from the ground and attacks him, but he makes it fly from her hand easily, and hits her strongly with his stick. So Oz gets upset and quickly stands in front of her to block the hit. And he tells him, I will not let you hurt her, or I will not join you. So Break gets surprised and Oz tells him, I know you need me and you were planning to save me from the abyss. So Break laughs and cancels the magic circle, and tells them forget what happened and let us drink tea. But suddenly the clock lights up, so Alice tells him that is a gate of the abyss. A chain is coming, and when the monster comes out which looks like a hedgehog, Break tells him nobody wants to contract with you here. So the monster runs to the wall and tries to break it to get out. So Break asks Raven to activate Alice's power, so Raven grabs Oz and uses his ability on him. So a magic circle comes out from him activating Alice's energy, so she turns into a rabbit and ties the monster with chains and hits it very fast with the scythe. So the clock falls from the monster and Oz and Alice run at the same time and grab it, and suddenly a memory of Alice appears. And then Oz finds himself in front of a strange door, and inside someone standing tells him, I was waiting for you. You now got one memory, but you must collect the rest of her memories soon to find the answer you want. Oz returns again and finds Alice crying, and she is very happy she recovered one of her memories. Then Alice turns back angry again, and asks them, what are you planning to do to us? So Break tells them, I will go directly to the point. We want you to be our subordinates in Pandora. So they both get surprised and Break continues, we are currently assigned to investigate the Baskerville members, the ones who threw Oz into the abyss. And the reason we wanted to get you out is that we know what the Baskerville means. And you better not return home because if they know they will hurt the ones living with you. And since they think you died there, do not tell anyone you are alive. So Alice asks them, why are you investigating them? Sharon answers, we have the same goals. That is what I can tell you now. So they both agree. At night Break gives Oz and Alice their first mission, which is to investigate the murders happening in a city near them. So Oz agrees because it might be a chance to find another part of Alice's memories. Raven goes with them to the city, and as soon as they arrive Alice disappears from beside them, so Raven goes to search for her and leaves Oz alone, and at the same time there is a flower seller offering a rich woman to take a flower, so the woman hits her and treats her in a very bad way. And after she leaves Oz goes to the flower seller and helps her gather the flowers that fell on the ground. So she thanks him and gives him a flower as a gift, and Raven comes in and tells Oz that he found Alice. After Oz leaves, the flower seller hears the voice of the chain inside her, and it tells her it will be the dessert tonight. So the chain replies, no, I want the girl who is with them. At night in the hotel where Oz and the others are staying, Alice is very annoyed because they do not want to go down to search for her memories, so Raven tells her it is late now, we will move tomorrow. And Oz asks him, then why do illegal contractors kill people? And why do they even contract with the chain? He replies, because the chain convinced them they can change the past and make the future as they want. But for the contractor to obtain that power he must let the chain eat humans, until the seal on the contractor's chest boils. Oz gets surprised and removes his shirt and finds that there is a seal on his chest like a clock. So Raven tells him this seal is a clock that shows the remaining time for the contractor. And as time passes the hand turns and cuts the seal slowly, and Raven looks at Alice and finds her sleeping, so he goes down to gather information. At the same time the flower seller is in the mansion of the woman who treated her badly, and killed everyone in it as punishment, and the chain inside her appears and tells her these are not enough, I want to eat the chain we saw in the morning. So they go to attack the hotel where Alice is, and they do not find her in the bed. And Alice is actually standing behind them and provoking the attacking chain, telling it you are very weak. The chain gets angry and Alice runs away quickly, and suddenly she bumps into Oz as she is running, but the chain is behind her so they all run, and Alice falls to the ground so Oz runs to save her, and Raven shoots an arrow at the chain to stop it, and Oz sees the flower seller and gets shocked, and Raven notices that her seal is complete so he stops Oz from approaching her, and suddenly a gate opens under the girl and she is not understanding what is happening to her, and the gate starts pulling her chain so he grabs her to enter the gate with him. The girl screams in fear and Oz runs to her to save her, but before he grabs her hand Raven pulls him away quickly and she enters the gate with the chain. And the next day on their way Alice asks Raven that gate that opened was a gate to the abyss, right? He replies yes, when the hands of the seal complete the contractor will descend into the abyss. So she asks him angrily then what will happen to Oz. He tells her his hands have not moved yet, but they will move for sure. She throws a pillow at him angrily and asks him why did you not tell me this before? So he asks her angrily and how do you not even know the result of signing the contract? She replies she did not know and Oz is actually the first person to contract with me. So he asks her how. Then what about all the brutal things you did when you were Beer Rabbit? She replies surprised, what are you saying? I have not eaten humans before even once. And she asks him is there a way to remove the seal from him? He tells her the easiest way is to cancel the contract between you, meaning we kill you. So she gets angry at him and tells him impossible. When they arrive home again Sharon asks us what do you plan to do? He tells her I want to go to the mansion where my birthday was held, maybe we can find something there that leads us to Alice's memories. And when they arrive at the mansion Oz is shocked by its bad state even though it was renovated recently, so Raven tells him this place has been under Pandora's control since the incident that happened in it. And I think there are some problems inside so I will go in to see what is going on and you stay outside. As he walks Oz tells himself Raven looks strangely like Gilbert, so Alice wakes up and asks him was Gilbert the child with black hair? He tells her yes and they go sit together in the garden, and he tells her about the day his uncle Oscar brought Gilbert to the mansion and told him he would be his servant. And then Gilbert tripped at a table so there was a vase about to fall on him but Oz saved him quickly, and since then they became friends and Gilbert promised he would protect him forever. Then he tells Alice Gilbert is the dearest person to me until now, so she replies I do not understand these things at all, and I think friends are useless, and suddenly they hear gunshots inside the mansion, and on the other side Raven finds his subordinates from Pandora moving in a strange way. So he looks above him and finds the Shinigami group member who controls people like puppets. Raven prepares his weapon. So she asks him sarcastically why are you upset? Is it because I used your body and hurt us 10 years ago? Oz hears this before he enters the door, and he gets shocked that Raven is Gilbert himself and that 10 years passed while he was in the abyss even though they were for him only one day. She summons her chain and makes it control Gilbert again, so Gilbert loses consciousness and attacks Oz, and Alice tries to save him so he attacks her too, and the group member tells her I feel sorry for you after you made a contract with the key of controlling the abyss and in the end I will take it from you. So Alice asks her what do you mean by the key of controlling the abyss? She replies this boy is dangerous to Baskerville and we cannot leave him in this world. Gilbert keeps beating him, and Oz wonders why Gilbert did not tell him that 10 years have passed, and he tries to push Gilbert away from him, and suddenly his shirt opens so Oz sees the mark of the sword strike he gave him against his will, so Oz puts his hand on the trigger of Gilbert's gun. Gilbert returns to his senses and remembers when he promised Oz that he would protect him forever, and suddenly he fires the bullet at the group member, so her chain retreats, and the girl jumps away from them, so Gilbert shoots at her but the bullets run out, so she escapes from them. After that Gilbert yells at Oz because he was about to kill himself, so Oz tells him of course I would not do that. I was sure you would stop yourself. He replies I am no longer the Gilbert you know. My full name is Gilbert Nightray, and this is a family that must not be seen with your family, and that is why I ask you do not treat me like you did in the past because I have no right. And he walks away leaving him. Oz goes down on his knees and says why did things reach this point? Then he gets up again to catch him, and Oz goes to him in the tomb where they found the clock together, and Oz sits treating his wounds and reminding him when they fell into this tomb 10 years ago. After that he asks him why did you hide the matter from me? He replies Gilbert because I did not want you to know the change that happened to me. Oz asks him sarcastically and where is that change? Because you became taller than me, or because you learned to use a gun? But Gilbert does not answer him so Oz continues, these 10 years it is normal some things changed. But for me you did not change much. Proof is that the first moment I woke you were the first person beside me and you did not break your promise. And I still trust your words until now. And even if you are one of the Night Ray men now, and even if my family's relation with them is bad, you will remain Gilbert to me. So Gilbert stands and goes down on his knee before him, and tells him and I until now want to remain your servant. On the other side Alice is sitting alone in the mansion, and suddenly another chain appears to her and tells her no matter what happens you will remain alone. Your name is Alice because you are the black rabbit whose hands are stained with blood. And Oz's call cuts them so the chain disappears and Alice feels it was just a dream, Then he takes her to go to Gilbert and tell them what happened in the past 10 years. But when they arrive, Alice suddenly stops in her place and there are flowers flying before her. So she tells them, I feel these trees are calling me, and suddenly another memory appears to Alice when she was a child running to a person waiting for her. So Oz recognizes the voice, because it is the same voice that told him search for Alice's memories if you want to know the answer to your question. Suddenly this person turns to Oz and tells him, be careful because you are watched from the abyss. And after that they hear bells and everything around them breaks, and the strange man looks at Gilbert and tells him, make sure this time you protect Oz. The world around them turns to darkness and they find before them the chain that was disturbing Alice, and she has her tied to a chair and laughing. So Gilbert tells us this thing Pandora and Baskerville were always searching for. But this is not its real form. And suddenly this chain approaches Oz and tells him, I have been waiting for you for a long time. Come to play with me. I have prepared many dolls. Oz replies angrily, I do not know you at all. And the important thing now is that you release Alice. So she asks surprised why. This being is a chain and wants to kill you. And suddenly she looks at Oz angrily and blood runs from her eyes on her face, and asks him why. Gilbert runs at her but she blasts him with strange energy. And she continues to Oz and tells him, you know nothing about that girl. Why do you want to stay beside her? You do not even know the reason of her birth and she is not suitable for you. And yet you stole her from me. Oz goes down on his knees and laughs, and tells her, you are right, I know nothing about her. But I do not think I can leave her because there is something common between us and I must stay with her. So she gets angry and moves away from him, and Oz walks toward Alice. Her size grows and she attacks him from behind. Quickly Gilbert fires a bullet at her, and Oz tells her, I do not like playing with dolls anyway. So the dark world they are in breaks and they return to their world. The next day Oz wakes and finds Gilbert before him, so he tells him, you are in my house now. So Oz quickly looks out the window, and Gilbert tells him angrily, Break used us to bring out the enemy, and tells him when he woke and carried him and Alice and went to meet Break. And then Break told him, well done Raven, thanks to you we clarified many things we did not know. So Gilbert realized he sent Oz on purpose so Baskerville would attack him. Suddenly they hear breaking sounds in Alice's room, and they enter to find Break appeared to her suddenly. After that he comes out asking Oz, do you not want to know why I and Sharon did not grow older like Gilbert? Then he answers him simply, because she and I are contractors but legal ones. We contracted in a way invented by Pandora. And unlike you, our seal is not visible. But from time to time side effects happen like stopping growth. But although we do not grow, we will die one day for sure. And I think I have a year for example and I will die. But I still have things to do first. Oz asks him like getting control of the abyss. So Break asks him, how does the abyss look? Is it like what we heard in legends? Or is it a broken toy box? And he tells him generally it is the place where the chain are born and that is why the organization wants it. And your existence is very important so we can accomplish this mission. And since Baskerville are chasing you, then surely you are the key. Alice asks him, what do you mean? And he replies, control of the abyss is a huge power. And since it is stopped now, that affects our world negatively like the appearance of the chain here. But since Oz is the key, we can control it. So Gilbert asks him, then why did Baskerville throw us into the abyss and try to get rid of him? Break replies, and here comes the problem. We ourselves sometimes do not understand their moves. And he tells us we do not know much about the abyss. And you are the only one with the power that will solve all these mysteries. So Oz replies, but what you are saying does not mean anything to me. All I will do is search for Alice's memories. And as long as she and Gilbert are beside me, if Baskerville appear again, I will be safe. So Break gets surprised and leaves. Suddenly Oz feels pain in his chest and falls to the ground, and this is because the hands of his seal moved, and a strange girl appears and leaves a bouquet of black roses and leaves without saying anything. Then Gilbert and Alice enter and find the flowers and a message falls from them. Gilbert reads the name Vincent on the message, and opens it to see what is written and gets surprised. But he says nothing to Oz. Then they go out to the market to get food, and Alice likes a certain restaurant so she and Gilbert go to buy from it and leave Oz alone. And on their way back to him, Alice suddenly stops and tells Gilbert, I want to ask Oz about his family. So Gilbert takes her to one of the passages and tells her do not talk about this subject in front of Oz because this subject is sensitive for him. So she replies, I want to hear his story from you. On the other side, Oz notices they are very late, so he decides to search for them. And at the same time there are 3 bullies mocking a boy in one of the passages because his father was a noble and became in debt and cannot pay his money, and they take from the boy a necklace with his mother's picture, so he tries to take it from them. But it slips from one bully's hand and flies, so Oz catches it. And he is holding a big axe threatening them with it, so they run. After that he sits with the boy they were bullying and looks at his mother's picture. So Oz tells him, your mother was very beautiful. The boy tells him, yes, although she died, now I still remember her and now I live with my father. Suddenly Oz asks about his family, and he replies, sadly my mother also died. And my father, I no longer even remember his face. And he remembers when he used to ask Kate his maid about his father. she always told him he is very busy. One day Oz was sitting studying, and Gilbert came in with tea and told him his father would come this year. So Oz replied yes, and that is why I am using the chance to study until he returns. On the other side, Gilbert is telling Alice that Oz always acted like a child but at the same time was very strict with himself, and that is what made him successful, and I am proud of him. But at the same time I have a sense of danger. We go back to the past and find Oz sitting very sad. And he asks Gilbert, why does my father hate me so much? Gilbert replies, no, impossible. And if you are thinking like that, go ask him. But Oz refuses because he is afraid to hear the answer, so Gilbert goes to ask him instead to prove him wrong. So Oz runs after him until he finds him talking to his father, and the shock is that he finds his father mocking him and telling him the child was not supposed to be born at all. So Gilbert gets very angry and screams in his face. So Oz's father hits him and orders the guards to imprison him. And Oz tries to step in, but his father hits his hand and tells him, do not touch me. Oz stands there shocked and the guards take Gilbert to lock him up. After 3 days, Gilbert comes out and goes to apologize to Oz. And despite the shock on his face, Oz replies, do not worry, nothing happened. We return to the present and suddenly Alice smells the scent of a chain. And at the same time the girl who left the black roses before Oz and the small boy appears. And she asks the boy, are you Philip West? Oz welcomes her, but strangely she asks him, who are you? I am Echo and I serve the Night Ray family, and I was ordered to get this child. She comes closer and pulls out her knife and threatens him with it. So Philip runs quickly and Echo chases him. So Oz grabs her and she raises the weapon on him again. But then she sees Gilbert's hat with him, so he tells her this is my servant and he is my role model in life. So she apologizes to him and tells him Vincent will punish me if I hurt Gilbert's savior. But I am currently chasing an illegal contractor. But if you do not want to leave him, then follow me, but I am not responsible if you get involved in the fight and die. At the same time Alice follows the chain scent and Gilbert tries to stop her because he wants to search for Oz. But she refuses because she wants to catch the chain before it disappears, and suddenly a monster appears behind them, and Oz is running after Echo and asks her, what will you do to him when you catch him? Surely you will not kill a small child, right? But she does not answer him and jumps from a roof down to Philip, and tells us, you are wrong. Philip is not the illegal contractor. I wasted my time. On the other side the contractor with the chain appears and shockingly it is Philip's father. So Alice asks Gilbert to release her power, but Oz is not even here and he is the key. At the same moment Echo appears and attacks the chain, but it grabs her and throws her. And Oz appears after that, and when he sees Philip's father he gets shocked that he is the contractor, and suddenly the monster attacks the bridge he is standing on and breaks it. So Gilbert saves him quickly and releases Alice's power. Alice transforms into B-Rabbit and cuts the chain's body, and Oz notices that the damage happening to the chain also affects the contractor. So he approaches Alice and tries to stop her, but the chain attacks Alice and she gets angry and charges at it. So Oz thinks how he will control her to stop her, and suddenly he hears a voice in his head telling him you have the power to control her. So Oz shouts at her to stop. Alice returns to human form and also feels a huge pressure that keeps her from moving, and Oz approaches Philip's father and tells him, I was happy when he talked to me about you. Why are you doing this? He pulls out a gun and shoots at Oz, but not a single bullet hits him. So Oz shouts at him and asks him, why did you make the contract with the chain? He replies, because of Philip, of course. I must change the past so I do not lose all the family's money and his mother does not die. Oz feels jealousy because his father never thinks of him at all, and he grabs Philip's father's clothes angrily and tells him, why are you not beside Philip? You do not need to change the past. All your son needs is for you to stay with him. And suddenly Gilbert wakes and sees Philip's father aiming the gun at Oz, so Gilbert pulls his gun and shoots him, killing him. So the abyss gate opens and drags the chain and Philip's father. Philip gets very upset and energy leaks from him and Alice turns into B-Rabbit, so Gilbert runs quickly to stop him. And when Oz calms down he asks Gilbert angrily, why did you shoot him? Gilbert replies, I am not the one who shot. And suddenly Vincent appears and tells him, I am the one who shot because he was about to kill you. After that they go to Sharon's house, and Gilbert is very upset because Oz does not care about himself and always puts himself in danger. So Sharon approaches him and tells him, I understand you are afraid for him, but there are more important things you need to talk to him about now. On the other side Oz is sitting alone in his room and thinking about Philip's father's words that he wanted to make his son happy in any way, and remembers his own father when he told him, I wish you were never born, and Alice enters and tells him, surprise, this is the first time I see you this angry. So he replies sadly, I promised Philip the First would bring his father back to him, but I could not do anything in the end. She tries to comfort him and tells him there was nothing more that could be done. He replies sadly, but I did not keep my promise. And also every time I remember Philip the First feel he is alone and waiting for his father. She tells him, I understand what you feel because I also spent a long time feeling lonely. Then she asks him about Vincent because she feels a bad feeling toward him, and Gilbert enters and tells her he is my younger brother, and he begins to tell that 10 years ago when Oz entered the abyss the Night Ray family adopted him. and that was so he could obtain the greatest property of the family, which is the chain raven. On the birthday when Oz was thrown into the abyss, Gilbert had to flee to the forest while crying and not knowing what to do, and at that time he met Break, who told him his younger brother was in the Night Ray family's house and he was looking for him. So Gilbert replied, "Do you not know that Night Ray are the bitterest enemies to Oz's Bizarius family?" Break tells him the matter is complicated and you understood the relation between the two families wrong, yet Gilbert insists he will not betray Bizarius, so Break tempts him with the idea that if he took the Night Ray family's power he could save Oz from the abyss. So Gilbert turns quickly and Break tells him with a frightening look, "As long as you care that much, use any tools you find before you to achieve what you want. And if you do what I ask, I will help you." So Gilbert asks him, "What do you want?" He replies, "I want to know the movements of the Night Ray family." Gilbert agrees and goes with him to the Night Ray family house, and when he sees his brother he feels a psychological shock, and he pulls his hand away from him, but his brother reassures him and hugs him, and from here his new life with Vincent in the Night Ray family began. After a while Gilbert asked his brother about Raven. So Vincent took him to the underground vault, and on their way Vincent tells him, "I am surprised that you know Raven." Gilbert replied, "I only heard some rumors." Vincent continues, "It is said each of the 4 dukes has a terrifying beast living with them," and he asks Gilbert, "Do you know the story of the 4 dukes?" He replies, 100 years ago they were heroes protecting this country." He tells him, "Right, but that was not the matter. The reason that made the 4 dukes protect the noble class is that they have a gate that summons the weapons of the chain. When Gilbert touches the gate everything around him turns to darkness." And Vincent continues saying the 4 dukes who possessed these gates built an organization called Pandora to make research on the abyss and on illegal contractors, and also to watch each other's power. And suddenly a huge monster appears before Gilbert, so Vincent grabs him and pulls him from the darkness before it swallows him. He tells him Raven has the power to create a path to the abyss, and if you could contract with him you might return an important person to you from the abyss. So Gilbert decides to himself he must do that to save us no matter what. And he remembers when Break told him the relation between Night Ray and Bizarius is like a relation between light and darkness. So the Bizarius family were heroes 100 years ago, unlike Night Ray who were traitors and suspicious. And that is why Night Ray receives simple missions. And once you become their son your hands will be stained with blood. But at that time Gilbert did not care about that as long as he would save Oz. And when he finished the tale he found Oz and Alice had already fallen asleep. The next day Gilbert takes Oz and Alice and they return to the city they were in because he lost his hat there. They find themselves in a contest facing 3 strange people. So Gilbert asks us, "How did we reach this?" He replies, "When we went out to look for your hat we found it in a cafe with a man. He told us he took it as a gift from his lover, and you told him no, that is my hat, return it to me. So I stepped in and said whoever wins at arm wrestling will take the hat." Gilbert gets upset because if they lose he will not get his hat again and he loves it very much. So Oz tries to reassure him that the 2 of them at least will win easily and maybe Alice will win if their luck is good. The first round starts with Oz against the one who has the hat. So Oz begins telling him many strange scary words so the man cannot bear it and Oz quickly defeats him. The second round is supposed to be Gilbert against a girl from that gang. But suddenly Oscar steps in and tells her, "I will fight instead of you." Gilbert gets scared and runs away but they bring him back. The match starts and Gilbert loses before Oscar. So Oz gets nervous because he did not expect he would lose and hope now is in Alice's hands. Suddenly the biggest man in the gang enters against her. Alice speaks to him with full confidence forgetting her power is sealed. When the match starts, she resists with difficulty until Gilbert releases her power so she wins and he takes his hat. After these bouts Oscar meets Oz after a very long time and greets him, and Gilbert apologizes to Oscar for the betrayal of the Bizarius family. So he hugs them both and tells them, "You are like my children." At that moment Alice enters and sees them so she feels jealous and runs away. When she reaches one of the corridors she stops thinking why she ran away in the first place. Suddenly Break appears and warns her of a chain in that place but it appears behind them pulling them. After a while Alice comes to the same place where she was and searches for her. He finds Break's doll on the ground. When Alice wakes she finds herself in a very strange place. So Break tells her this is the house of the cat Cheshire. She asks him, "So this is not the world where Oz is?" He tells her yes, but we are not in the abyss either. This dimension does not belong to any world. He warns her, "This cat brought us here because he wants to kill you." She asks surprised, "And why me?" He replies, "Because the will of the abyss hates you and this cat is a big assistant to it. You two are chains unique of their kind." Suddenly many monsters appear around them so Break takes Alice and they run away until they reach a safe place. So Alice asks him, what did you mean when you said I and this cat are unique of our kind? What do you even know about me? He asks her, although you have a contract with a human, you still want to eat humans, right? She replies, never. I have not felt that I want to eat humans before. He tells her, at first I thought it was a principle preventing you from eating humans. But now I understood you do not need to eat humans at all, just like the cat Cheshire exactly. He does not search for a contractor because the most important thing for him is just to remain here. And that is why he does not need to come to our world even. And no matter how you compare yourself and Cheshire with the other chains, you will find you are very different. And that is why we must be close to the will of the abyss. She asks him, so in short you came here to take information about the will of the abyss from Cheshire? He tells her yes, exactly. They then enter through a door and suddenly Alice feels terror. She realizes not all memories she finds will be beautiful like the ones she found before. Suddenly she feels the abyss speaking to her in her head and asks her, why do you want to find your memories? Alice replies in fear, because I want to know the reason for my existence. The abyss asks her, then why did you forget them in the first place if they are important to you? Break holds her and asks her, what is it? She slips from him and runs while screaming. Before he runs after her, he finds a hand grabbing him. He turns with the sword to strike the one who grabbed him, and the shock is that he finds himself before him. Then he pulls him inside the mirror. At the same time, Oz is at Sharon's house and learns from her that Alice and Break are in Cheshire's house, so Oz decides to go after Alice and Gilbert tries to stop him because the place there is very dangerous. Yet Oz insists on going and tells him surely he left his doll there so we would come to Sharon and she would give us the details and we would go help him. So she opens a gate for them with her chain and tells them, I had placed my chain's skin in Break's shadow, so I will use it to open a path for you. They jump into the gate and after that Oz wakes in Cheshire's world. Sharon speaks to him from his shadow, and Gilbert asks her, why are you in Oz's shadow while you said your chain is in Break's shadow? She answers him, actually it should be there, but it seems it got lost a while ago and I hope it does not cause trouble. My chain's name is Ikez and it can merge with any shadow and be a link between 2 points. And since I lost connection with Break, then surely he went to a very strange place. But the important thing is you reached the needed place. Suddenly Gilbert feels someone will attack. So he pushes us quickly and Cheshire appears before them and asks, how did you reach this place? Oz asks him what happened to Alice and Break. Cheshire replies, I trapped Break in a mirror and I think he is drowning in his memories now and will stay asleep. Oz asks him, why did you attack those two specifically? He tells him because they are enemies to the will of the abyss, and he prepares to attack them. Suddenly Oz sees Gilbert frozen from fear when he realizes Cheshire is a cat. Cheshire takes advantage and attacks them, so Oz moves Gilbert away and tries to wake him. Cheshire attacks again and this time Ikez, the chain of Sharon, appears, which is in the form of a black unicorn, and it runs at Cheshire, so he jumps on the wall. Sharon asks him through Ikez what happened 100 years ago. He replies, you are annoying, and disappears. Meanwhile Gilbert and Oz are escaping climbing very long stairs. At the end they find Alice ahead of them. Gilbert shoots her in the head because this is not the real Alice. Cheshire appears and tells them this is one of Alice's distorted memories. And in this world the memories are what destroy intruders. Oz asks, surprised, so Alice's memories are in this place? He replies, this world was created from Alice's memories originally. And he comes down before Gilbert and sniffs him. Suddenly he tells him, you are using Raven's power to seal B-Rabbit's power, and strikes him with his claws, throwing him from a high place. Cheshire grabs Oz's head and tells him, I know you are the one searching for Alice's memories, but I do not understand why you are doing this. Oz answers him, because Alice wants to regain her memories. Cheshire gets very angry and chokes him, and tells him, you liar. I am the only one who knows Alice wanted to forget everything, and that she used her will to scatter her memories. And the memories that exist in your world are only part of the memories sealed here. And my mission is to stay here and guard her memories and ensure no one sees them. Because what is here are the memories Alice wanted to erase. Oz gets shocked by his words. Cheshire continues, the day Alice lost everything. On the other side, Oscar, Vincent and Reem are together. Reem tells them the servants of the abyss called the Shinigami who wear red robes disappeared. They were people from the Baskerville family originally but were defeated by the 4 dukes. Yet in the end no one said the truth of what happened in that matter. And as for the Baskerville, they have never shown their faces to the outside world before. Vincent tells them and the tragedy of Sabri that happened 100 years ago in the capital when the abyss swallowed the whole city of Sabri, and the one who caused it was Glenn Baskerville, their leader. And if the 4 dukes and Jack Bazarius had not stopped them, they would have dragged the rest of the country into the abyss. Yet we are still not sure of their goals. And instead of fighting, we now have the power the Baskerville used to protect, which is the 4 gates connected to the abyss, or in other words the 4 chains. But that is not enough. We want the whole will of the abyss, and the last gate remains with the Baskerville. But of course they also want it and will come to fight for it. Oscar replies, Oz is the only person who threatened the Baskerville 100 years ago, and it is not Pandora's habit to meddle with B-Rabbit. On the other side, Gilbert wakes and finds himself in a strange garden. Suddenly he finds before him a memory of Alice. He chases it and remembers when he asked Break angrily why is Alice in human form while she is a chain. Break answered him the real question here is that Alice's true form at all, or what is her true form, be Rabbit or Alice, and told him you will not find this truth except in her memories. Suddenly Alice's memory gets lost from him, but he hears someone calling him. He looks back and tries to recognize the shape and finds Oz but older. He answers him, I am Jack Bazarius. On the other side Cheshire keeps hitting Oz, and tells him surprised, how are you laughing while you are getting beaten? And truly you are here, but I feel you are not here. Oz gets shocked because that is the same words Break told him before. Cheshire jumps on him quickly, but before hitting him a hand appears from the mirror behind Oz. Cheshire steps back and looks in the mirror, finds Jack, who tells him what you are doing is wrong, Cheshire. Do not hurt this child, and asks him think who will be very sad if you kill him, and pulls Oz and walks away. Cheshire sees Break's memories appear, so he enters them. He takes him to Gilbert, and when Oz sees him he remembers he is the same person he sees in Alice's memories, and Jack asks Oz to help him save Alice before she loses herself in this world and disappears forever. So quickly and without thinking Oz asks him, what do you want from me? Jack tells him, first we must know her location. I want you to think about her and call her name because you are the only one who can find her. After some focus from Oz, Jack can locate her and sends him to her place. Gilbert gets angry and asks him, why did you send him alone? He replies sadly, I cannot control everything in this world and my power is limited here. Maybe because I am not part of Alice's memories at all. Gilbert asks him surprised, then who are you? He tells him, I am part of Jack Bazarius's soul left inside Alice's memories. At the same time Cheshire is inside Break's memories, and attacks him. Break dodges his strike and Cheshire escapes outside his memories. He thought Break would not follow, but the opposite happens. Break uncovers his left hidden eye, and his chain called Mad Hatter appears. Cheshire fears him more. On the other side Oz finds himself in a castle. He searches for Alice quickly and suddenly fire appears before him. He turns to go back and finds many corpses on the ground. In his shock Jack speaks to him telepathically and tells him you are now in Sabri, which for you is not just the capital of the world. It is the city the Baskerville dragged to the abyss. Oz gets shocked, he is now in the tragedy of Sabri that happened 100 years ago. He tells Jack, but what I know is Sabri was destroyed because of an earthquake. Jack replies, yes, that was told to the common people, but that is not the truth. Oz asks him, then why am I here now? Jack answers, because this dimension was created from Alice's memories, and she was here 100 years ago in this castle. Oz concludes these are the memories she wished to erase, and he rushes to search for her. At the same time Gilbert points his gun at Jack, and tells him send me to Oz's place. Jack laughs and comes closer, putting his head on the gun's barrel, then asks him, did you really forget what happened to me that day? On the other side Oz finds before him a crying child, and says to himself out loud, this is not my fault. I did this for Gilbert. Oz gets shocked that this is actually Vincent and that Gilbert was alive 100 years ago. Suddenly Vincent laughs sarcastically and jumps into the fire, but strangely he disappears before touching the fire and appears again before Oz. He runs, so Oz runs after him quickly. Before catching him he disappears and appears in a nearby corridor. Oz chases him again. Then he stops to think and review the events in his head, and says 100 years ago Sabri City was dragged into the abyss. Then after 15 years they found Gilbert with severe wounds. Then they found Vincent on Night Ray lands with the same wounds. That means they found a way to get out from the abyss, and he is shocked and cannot believe this might be real. At the same time Gilbert holds his head and tells Jack, I do not want to remember anything. Jack apologizes to him and says, do not force yourself to remember. What happened to you and Alice that day left a deep wound. Oz continues chasing little Vincent, until he reaches a place where he hears Alice's voice. He runs up the stairs quickly. Suddenly he finds Alice's corpse before him and hears a voice telling him, if you will stay beside her you must know that Alice was human and got killed 100 years ago in this place. His heart beats fast from the shock, and the hands of the clock on his chest move again. Oz feels intense pain and energy leaks from him, tearing the world, and everyone feels it. Everything around starts to break. Oz rises not aware and all he thinks of is Alice. On the other side Gilbert feels Raven got sealed and B-Rabbit is raging. He asks Jack, is Oz the cause of this happening? Jack says yes, but Gilbert cannot believe because Oz cannot possibly have energy of this amount. Jack answers him, in truth it is the power of B-Rabbit that is sealed. And generally the situation now is very bad, because if this dimension gets destroyed all who were pulled into it will die. And he transfers Gilbert to Oz to stop him. When he arrives he finds Oz walking alone, not conscious. He tells him, stop what you are doing. Oz replies, I will destroy everything Alice wanted to forget so she will not suffer. And he pushes Gilbert away, destroying everything he touches. Gilbert gets angry and hits him on the face to wake him. Oz returns to his senses and Gilbert shouts at him, telling him you came here to save Alice. On the other side Vincent is sitting speaking to Echo, and tells her Cheshire did his part and the game is about to finish. If everything goes according to plan B-Rabbit's memories will return to our world. At the same time Cheshire attacks Break, Break jumps on a pillar, draws his sword and strikes him with a very strong blow, and bleeds after because he used huge power in that fight. Cheshire before him cannot move at all. Break tells him, I advise you do not try to stand. You cannot defeat me because Mad Hatter can reject anything related to the abyss and destroy it, and I chose him because he can destroy any chain. Before Cheshire speaks, Break takes out the bell that was on his neck and asks him, is this what you used to make this world right? Cheshire gets shocked and Break concludes this bell holds all of Alice's memories. At the same time, Jack speaks telepathically to Gilbert and Oz and tells them Alice is fine but you must free her. Oz looks back, sees her chained, but the place is collapsing. This time the cause is not Oz. It is Cheshire's power losing control from anger and turning into a huge monster. Oz feels regret because he was about to kill Alice while unconscious. He quickly runs toward her to free her. Suddenly the stair breaks and he is about to fall into the void, but he saves himself holding the stair and climbs up again. When he nears Alice, the chains evaporate and he grabs her. Alice cries happily and holds him, and Gilbert catches them before they fall. Suddenly Cheshire appears as a monster, so Oz is surprised and remembers Jack telling him Cheshire does all this because he wants to be a hero and protect the ones important to him. Oz feels sadness for him. Break draws his sword and tells them, I will finish him before he kills us. Use Ikez and leave here. He jumps on Cheshire and cuts him in half. Ikez appears and takes Oz and Alice only and leaves. Suddenly they find themselves in the Pandora organization before the four dukes and Oscar with them. Alice turned into B-Rabbit without reason. They think they came to kill them, so Alice grabs Oz and attacks them before they attack first, and escapes quickly. Oscar holds Liam and whispers to him to help him get Alice and Oz out of this place, because they will think he is an illegal contractor and kill him. Liam moves fast while thinking how to get them out. Suddenly Break pulls him into a room, silences him because Gilbert is sleeping from exhaustion, then asks Liam, do you know what happened to Sharon? Liam replies, she has been missing for a while and we have not announced it officially yet. We are searching secretly now. Liam leaves quickly to catch up with Oz and B-Rabbit. Break goes to Sharon's room and finds black flowers and a chess horse. Break gets angry because that means the Night Ray did this. Gilbert wakes and moves to catch up to seal B-Rabbit's power. At the same time, Oz and Alice are standing before the four dukes. Oz tries to explain they are not here to kill them, but Alice is angry and wants to kill, so they do not believe his words. They shoot magic at them and Alice cuts it with her scythe. Oz gets nervous and cannot act. He hears Jack telling him return Alice to her human form to calm them, but Oz says, I do not know how to do it. It happened by chance last time. Jack enters his mind and takes control of his body. Before B-Rabbit attacks them, he returns her to the human form with one sentence. Despite Alice's childish look, the four dukes are still afraid of her. They surround her with weapons. One duke runs at Jack. Jack kicks him away. After that, he tries to reassure them all that Oz is not their enemy. Alice gets upset someone is controlling Oz's body, but they are all shocked when they realize the one speaking is Jack Bazarius, who fought Baskerville and witnessed the tragedy of Sabri. Meanwhile, Break is with Vincent and tells him return Sharon. Vincent laughs and says, you found out this fast? Break replies, this is the only place with black flowers in Pandora. Vincent says, do not worry, I have no intention to harm or kill her. I just wanted something. Break replies, I have nothing you could want. Vincent grabs his hand and points to Cheshire's bell, and says, I know Alice's memories are here, so what about we trade? On the other side, Jack tells the four dukes, I came here to prevent another Sabri tragedy happening here. And I also fought Baskerville, and I tell you Glenn is still alive. They all get angry and do not believe him. He says, I will not blame you, but this is the truth and we cannot deny it. We all know Baskerville wants to possess the will of the Abyss, and to achieve that they needed sacrifices to the Abyss. The result was Sabri's tragedy. They all get surprised when they understand the real goal behind Sabri's tragedy. Jack continues. Of course, after the four dukes stopped what Glenn wanted, he disappeared. But Baskerville returned after 100 years at Oz Bazarius's birthday party. Liam stands telling them what happened that day and says he managed to get out of the Abyss alone. Suddenly Oz feels pain in his head. Gilbert catches him before he falls. Before Jack leaves, he tells them, I warn you one last time. Glenn Baskerville is not dead. Even if they target the four dukes, they are surely searching for Glenn. If they find him, tragedy will happen again. Oz must lead you from now on. They all kneel before him. Jack enters Oz's mind and apologizes for using his body. Oz asks him, why did you say all this? Jack replies, you truly have me sorry. Anyway, I will disappear now and you will not see me again. Oz stops him because he still has questions. But Jack tells him, one day I will tell you the whole story about me, Alice and Glenn. But please, you must stop him because he is my dear friend. Oz gets surprised and Jack disappears. Oz wakes later, finds himself in bed, Alice and Gilbert sleeping beside him. Suddenly Break knocks on the window and tells him, come drink some tea with me. At first Break apologizes to Oz for dragging him into all these problems. Oz gets surprised by what he is doing because this is not Break's usual character. Then Oz asks, why did you want to find Cheshire in the first place? Break replies, I wanted to know the truth about what happened 100 years ago. Oz coughs hard and Break concludes he has learned information. He suggests they exchange the info they got from all that happened. Oz tells him Alice was there during the tragedy of Sabri and about chasing Vincent. Break tells him okay, I understood everything. Ask me whatever you want. Oz asks why do you want to know the truth of what happened 100 years ago? Break refuses to answer. He says I told you ask but not that I will give answers. Oz gets angry and Break tells him you will be the future hero and Pandora discussed it while you were asleep. Oz asks hopeless are you really sure I am the hero who will defeat Baskerville and solve all these problems? Break answers yes of course. And let me give you advice. Beware of Vincent because we suspect he is linked to the tragedy of Sabri. He is a mysterious man and hides everything about himself. Oz asks is he not in Pandora now? Break replies no, he said he will meet his friends at the Night Ray mansion. After that they enter the mansion and Break tells us that Sharon was kidnapped and says do not worry I made a successful deal with the kidnapper. Oz asks him who kidnapped her but Break refuses to tell. Then he opens a door and they both enter to find Sharon sitting on the bed. When Break gets close to her she slaps him hard on the face, then she cries because she remembers what happened. We return to the past and Vincent takes Break to the room where Sharon is held. Break gets shocked finding her dying because of poison Vincent made her drink and he says I did that so we can agree, and opens the balcony door. Break gets surprised seeing Echo inside her also poisoned. Vincent tells him I poisoned her so if you need proof the antidote I have works. Break asks him what exactly do you want? Vincent says actually I wanted Cheshire's bell to destroy it but I cannot do that. So I will ask you to use your chain's power to reject the abyss forces these memories are made from and destroy it. I do not want anyone to know what happened 100 years ago. Sharon remembers Break came to her mother Queen Shelley and told her my goal is to know what happened 100 years ago. She tells him leave me and do not listen to him, yet Break summons Mad Hatter and breaks the bell. But Vincent smiles slyly and tells him you are too kind, and throws the antidote off the balcony. Luckily Echo catches the antidote, and Break protects her so Vincent cannot harm her. We return to the present and Sharon tells Break because of my weakness all this happened. And you sacrificed for me the thing you were searching for all your life. Oz stands not understanding anything happening and no one explains to him. Liam opens the door and takes him out to leave them alone. After that Oz goes to Gilbert and Alice's room, and right behind enters his uncle Oscar and tells him there is a disaster, dresses them all in school uniforms, takes them and they ride the carriage immediately. He tells them Ada has a problem. Alice asks who is Ada. Oz replies she is my sister. When they arrive Oscar opens a secret door leading them into the school. But they meet some girls and Oscar talks to them pretending to be a student, but because of his age they realize he is an intruder and report. Gilbert and Oscar split together and Oz and Alice together. Suddenly a girl enters to Oscar and Gilbert and they find out she is Ada. On the other side Alice is surprised Oz is happy they got separated and not worried. She asks him you do not want to see your little sister? Oz replies no of course I do not hate her. On the contrary I am very happy I will see her again. The idea is I am scared because the last time I saw Ada she was small. Maybe she will not even remember me. At the same time Ada is surprised her uncle is before her. When she learns Oz is also there she gets very scared because she is not ready for him to see her. She says it has been 10 years since I last saw him and my look changed. What will I do if he says you are not the Ada I know? Gilbert reassures her Oz would never say that. On the other side Alice encourages Oz to go meet his sister and not be afraid, until suddenly Ada enters to them and is very nervous. Oz gets shocked and cannot believe what he sees but smiles and says it has been a long time. They talk together and remember their memories. Alice bursts in angrily and pushes Ada away saying do not get near him he is my servant and mine. Gilbert gets angry and says no he is my master and mine. Suddenly Oz hears the melody he used to hear from the clock. So he quickly runs after the sound. And strangely when he enters the piano room he finds it empty. Ada comes behind him and asks why did you come here? He replies saying I wanted to ask the player about something. He discovers that Ada knows the two who were playing actually. And she tells him I am sure they are Elliot and Leo. They come here after the classes finish. So he excitedly asks her to tell him their place. She says since the school day ended I think they went to the library now. She takes him and they go to the library. She asks him to wait until she finds them, but Oz wanders around and finds his favorite book has many new parts released. Then notices one book is missing. Someone enters with the book and says I was reading it. Oz uses the moment and excitedly asks do you like these books? He answers yes. Oz starts talking about the story's characters but gets surprised they disagree with everything he says. Another voice interrupts them asking to focus while reading the same series. The person with Oz replies do not interfere Leo. Leo answers all this is your fault Elliot. They start arguing. Elliot tells Leo you are my servant and supposed to be on my side. Leo gets up and leaves. But Elliot stops him and tries to stop Oz from leaving. Elliot asks Oz his name and ID number. Leo says to Elliot do not bother maybe he is one of the intruders we heard about. Suddenly Ada enters and tells Elliot you are wrong. Elliot gets angry and replies, did I not tell you before not to talk to me like that? Leo says you cannot speak like this to her because she is higher than you academically. But Elliot does not listen. He says to Ada, you know this intruder and your uncle before broke into the school. This is what to expect from the heroic Bazarius family. Thinking you can escape any punishment, he asks Ada to go with him to the headmaster's office. Oz angrily replies, do not talk arrogantly like you know everything. Elliot attacks him but Oz easily dodges and says follow me, and runs so Elliot chases him. Oz manages to escape and stays alone. Ada enters after and strangely tells him do not think badly of Elliot. True, he hates me but he is a nice reliable person. She asks Oz, did you ask them what you wanted to know? Oz is surprised because he forgot that. He says come let's go search for them. Suddenly a girl from Baskerville appears and takes Ada from in front of him. On the other side Elliot still searches for Oz and finds some cat standing at a certain wall trying to open it. He sees with the cat's Ada's hair ribbon. At the same time Oz asks the Baskerville, are you planning to throw me in the abyss again? The girl answers, do not worry, we will not do that today. We just came to know you. They start bowing before him and say we do not intend to harm you at all. But of course if you do what we ask. Their leader asks him to tell about himself. Ada angrily tells her stay away from my brother. The leader gives her poison to silence her. At the same time Elliot tries to understand what the cats want from the wall. Leo appears and says maybe it is a secret door. Indeed they open it and find stairs going down. We return to the gang leader and she tries to make us talk. Oz speaks angrily and refuses to answer. She says someone dear to you is in danger now and you can save them if you sacrifice yourself only. He replies, I will sacrifice myself if there is no other choice, without hesitation. She gives him a scary look and says, finally I understood your thinking. Listen boy, there is no battle without victims. The rest of the gang push her away because she went too far. The real questions start. First they ask about the Sabri tragedy. Oz is surprised because they were the cause actually. The girl says yes, at that time we killed many people. But it was Glenn's orders that never make mistakes. Oz angrily asks, so you did that without even knowing the reason? She answers coldly, Glenn never makes mistakes. Once he gives orders they cannot be disobeyed. Then she gets closer and asks him about Jack Bazarius. He says unfortunately he cannot come out now because he just left recently and that drains his energy almost. Then Lottie grabs Ada, calls Jack and threatens to kill her if he does not appear. Suddenly Elliot enters and Lottie throws a knife at him. Elliot dodges and tells her we got involved in this and must catch the intruder with you. Oz warns him these are not normal people. He replies, I know they are Baskerville and my duty as a noble from the Night Ray family is to catch them. Elliot draws his sword and engages in a quick clash with one of them. Leo shoots Lottie to take Ada. Elliot runs to Oz and frees him. So the Baskerville check on Lottie and ask her how should we act. She replies saying we have no choice but to kill them, and sends her chain, which is in the form of a lion, standing before Oz and the others. So Elliot draws his sword and Oz decides to draw a sword to help him. But Oz's skills are very weak because he never used it in a real fight before. Elliot engages the chain and Oz tries to use the chance but does not hit. The lion blows them away with one strike. Lottie tells her chain, do not kill them. I want you to torture Oz until Jack comes out. Oz remembers when Jack told him you have the ability, and tries to call Jack to ask how to summon B-Rabbit. Jack appears in his mind and says do not think about anything but saving your friends. Gilbert and Alice feel a strong pulse in their bodies while in the school garden. Suddenly B-Rabbit and Jack appear behind Oz and Lottie's chain disappears. We return to the past in the Baskerville mansion. Lottie was walking in the garden and suddenly felt someone behind her, so she turned with a knife. She finds a person in a cloak saying do not worry. Glenn tells him annoyed Lottie. He removes the cloak and we find it is Jack, introducing himself to Lottie and saying he is just a music box maker. Back then the Baskerville family was just a low-ranked noble family with no important assets, and Jack was the third son. His family had low expectations, so they let him do what he wanted even if it annoyed people. One day Lottie grabbed his hair and said, do you know commoners cannot enter this mansion? How do you sneak here every day? He replied, someone showed me a secret passage and told me you can use it when you come here. That person is Glenn. She was shocked he deals directly with Glenn easily. She asks about his relation with him. He says ask him yourself. She replies impossible, we cannot talk with Glenn directly so easily. She asks what do you even know about the Baskerville family? He says I know they are scary but I do not care. For me Glenn is my friend. Lottie was shocked by the sentence because it was far from her imagination. After some time Jack shows her the watch that Oz has in the future, and says what do you think of my art piece? She asks surprised, did you not say you make music boxes? He opens the watch and the tune Oz heard the first time plays. She says I know this melody but cannot remember where I heard it. Then Glenn enters and tells her the name of the melody because he created it. At that time Lottie felt jealousy because she could not reach Jack's place, and for the first time she saw Glenn smile with someone. but she still wished those calm days would continue. Unfortunately, one day Glenn angrily ordered them to kill all people in Sabri without discussion. We return to the present and Jack takes Oz's body, greets Lottie. She asks, you know where Glenn is, right? He replies, do not misunderstand. I did not appear to talk. I came to push you away from here. She gets angry because he talks arrogantly and tells him, do not think you became a hero because of your effort. It happened only after your fight against Glenn. Even though he was your friend, he gets angry and bursts his power, asking, do you mean I killed him for status? Lottie stays silent. He says, I will warn you one last time. You cannot face B-Rabbit's power, so retreat. And what you do not know is I do not talk about the incident to protect my friend's honor. If you want to repeat the past tragedy, then Oz must stop you. She replies, do what you want, we will follow our master's orders. And no matter how you try to kill Glenn, we will find him for sure. After they leave, Jack falls to his knees exhausted, feeling deep sadness, and from his memory we see him standing behind Glenn asking, why are you doing all this? At that time Glenn raised his weapon at him, so Jack had to fight, though he never wanted to kill him. Oz walks thinking about Jack's feelings toward Glenn, that if he were in his place he would never kill his dear friend. He feels despair and frustration, telling Elliot and Leo, the first noticed, I have no real worth and I am not advancing at all. Elliot shouts angrily and says, I do not know your exact situation, but can't you see you are already making progress? From now on you are free whether you want to continue and advance more or turn back and choose another path. So Oz decides to continue his way, and asks Elliot about the melody in the watch he has, and says, you were playing it this morning. Elliot pushes Oz's hand away and tells him, this is a song I wrote myself. Oz is shocked because supposedly the one who wrote it is Glenn. Elliot angrily asks, are you not going to tell us your name? Oz remembers how Elliot treated his sister because she is from Bizarius, so he decides not to say his real name to get the information about the melody, but suddenly Gilbert appears and calls Oz. Oz gets angry at him and hits him. Elliot is shocked Gilbert is here wearing a school uniform for 14-year-old students. Elliot angrily grabs Oz and asks, who exactly are you and how do you know this man? Gilbert says, I will not let anyone hurt him even if it is you. This is my master Oz Bizarius. Elliot is shocked and lets go, then walks away. Leo approaches Oz and says, please do not be upset with him. I know it is not your choice, you were born into that family, and he knows that too. But Elliot is a good person, his actions are just a bit stupid. We will meet again and talk. Oz shakes his hand and Leo leaves. At night Elliot is in his room trying to sleep, but he sees a nightmare of the Sabri tragedy day holding his sword soaked with the blood of the many humans he killed. On the other side the Pandora members are at the opera. At the door they meet Reem, who says, come, I will take you to Lord Rufus Barma. On the way they all cannot believe the Duke wants to meet them, and Oz says, everyone says he is strange, so I feared he would refuse to meet us. Alice asks, who is this person anyway? Oz replies, he is one of the 4 dukes and the oldest among them. We are coming here because maybe he remembers anything from the events 100 years ago not recorded in history books. When they reach Barma's room he is not there. Alice turns and suddenly is terrified and says, Oz, look behind you. Oz turns and finds Barma hanging upside down from the ceiling laughing. But Oz is not frightened at all and shows no reaction. Barma gets upset because all others were terrified by that trick. Then he says, I am Rufus Barma, the person who knows everything. Oz asks him about what happened 100 years ago, but Barma refuses to say without exchange. Oz asks, what do you want in return? Barma answers, tell me information I do not know. Oz says, I have nothing to tell you. Barma replies with a question, then why do you want to know the truth? And says, I know without you saying. You want to know the accusations Baskerville made against you. But what benefit will you get if you know them? Oz answers sadly, because of the dear people to me and to know what I should do. Suddenly Barma goes into panic saying, impossible, there is something I do not know. How can circumstances change without me knowing and my information become wrong? But Oz does not understand what he said wrong. Barma starts hitting walls and breaking the place. They find him flipped on the ground. Break goes near and says, calm down. After you rejected all my requests to meet you, suddenly you decided to invite me. The person you seek is me, not Oz. And I have some information you will like. Barma smiles cunningly and says, finally you arrived, red-eyed specter. Kevin Regnard. Break hits him hard with his cane and uses his chain ability to cancel Barma's chain powers. Barma vanishes and all statues around them change, turning into chairs, and a man appears sitting. He says to Break, you destroyed the illusion I worked hard to create. Break bleeds from using his power. Barma mocks him and Break replies, I do not want to hear words from someone who uses his power to deceive children. Oz is surprised that the man who appeared is the real Barma. Barma comes close to Break and says, I want the information you have. But first I want proof you are Kevin Regnard. He lunges at Break and cuts his shirt, revealing his seal watch. The surprise, it is fully complete. Barma says 50 years ago there was an illegal contractor roaming at night sacrificing people to feed his chain. His eyes were red in the dark so people thought he was not human and called him the red-eyed specter. Even after all he did he could not escape being dragged to the abyss. And that person is Break. Or rather Kevin Regnard. Oz asks, so you want to catch Break because he is a criminal? Barma laughs and says it would have been fun, but no, I only want the information he has. I want to know what happened to him when he was dragged to the abyss. I personally believe he was pulled to the deepest point and saw the will of the abyss. We return to the past when Break was dragged to the deepest point of the abyss and opened his eyes to find Cheshire before him. Break pulled his weapon and Cheshire stepped back. Suddenly Break found himself in a room full of laughing dolls, the same room Oz was in before. The girl who appeared to Oz came and silenced the toys, then asked him what is your name, but from shock he did not answer. She said I am Alice. Suddenly the chain Break had at that time named Boss appeared and welcomed the girl in front of Break saying long time no see Will of the Abyss. Break was shocked the girl is the Will of the Abyss herself. Then Boss approached her and put his sword beside her, so she knew everything about Break, said his name Kevin and that he was a loyal knight serving in a great castle. But sadly all of them died. Break was shocked because he left them alive. She mocked him saying they were killed in your absence and you could not protect them. Break angrily attacked her and she caught his sword with her hand. Boss attacked him to protect the Will of the Abyss. She got angry because Boss cut in and blew him apart. Suddenly she left Break and started playing with Cheshire. Break sat thinking about what is happening and that all he wanted was to change the past and save his master. Afterwards he felt severe pain, so the dolls told him the Will of the Abyss's power will pierce your body and after some time you will become a chain like us. Break was shocked. Suddenly the Will of the Abyss approached and took one of his eyes, said this will be a nice gift for Cheshire. Break got very angry and cut some of the dolls around. At the same time the Sabri tragedy happened and that explosion affected the abyss. The Will of the Abyss felt deep pain. Suddenly young Vincent appeared before them and said I did as ordered and opened the abyss gate myself. But many people fell into it. We return to the present and Break wakes from the coma. Barma tells him you should thank me because now you will not need to explain a lot. Continue from where I stopped. So Break tells them that after Vincent entered and said he opened the abyss she was shocked. And Vincent was surprised that Alice's hair was white, and suddenly he fell to the ground from exhaustion and told her you are not supposed to be here because you are dead. Alice angrily asked him what are you doing here, and Cheshire angrily kicked him and Alice told him this is my room and you cannot enter it so easily, and the dolls said Vincent is evil. He always cut us with the scissors. Alice held her head from pain and said right, we did nothing wrong. Then she screamed crying and Break looked at her not understanding anything. Suddenly she remembered the time of her tea party. So she stopped crying and brought the table and sat to make tea with her dolls, then asked Cheshire when do you think Jack will come? He promised me he would take me to his house. But Vincent interrupted with his mocking laugh and said Jack will not come here again because I am sure he is dead now. I saw him in Sabri fighting Glenn and his body soaked in blood. Alice got very angry and said no impossible Jack is dead. Vincent replied angrily Jack will not return again. He always helped you. But all this happened because of you. Sabri was destroyed and I and Gilbert ended up like this. You killed Jack. Alice screamed in shock, and the world around them started to collapse. Vincent rejoiced and told her yes destroy humans and the world. So Break used the moment before everything disappeared and begged Alice to change the past and he would do anything she wished. We return to the present and Oz is surprised why Alice loves Jack so much and why the Will of the Abyss is called Alice. Barma interrupts and says I saw the name Alice in my family's history books. And that book was personally written by Jack. In the book it was written the story of a girl he met named Alice who was imprisoned in one of the Baskerville towers, and whenever he asked Glenn the reason he refused to answer, one day Jack entered her room which was exactly like the Will of the Abyss's room but in the human world, and found the girl sitting on the floor holding a black cat like Cheshire. He asked her Glenn who locked you here? She said I do not know but everyone here hates me. But I am happy you came. He said how about you come with me next time to my house and play with me? She was surprised and said I cannot because of Glenn. He replied do not worry he does not need to know at all. And he kept visiting her room playing and enjoying and telling her about the Bizarius mansion. To him she was just a weak child, but after several visits he started noticing strange things. First the cat's attitude sometimes loving her and sometimes wanting to attack her, and the colors Alice liked and the books she read changed each time and her taste shifted as if she was a completely different person. And she forgot what they talked about every visit. But what disturbed Jack most then was the atmosphere around her. As if the innocent girl he knew no longer existed. One time he asked who are you? You are not the Alice I know right? She smiled slyly and said yes I am not the Alice you know. But I am Alice too and our souls are connected. And my twin uses the bond between us deep in the abyss to come to the human world. But she cannot stay more than half a day. I am her and she is me. Our existence is one yet we are different. And Alice is the name of us both. Oz is shocked that the Alice with him and the Will of the Abyss are actually twins. Barma says Glenn's ambition was to control the will of the abyss, and he takes Alice's hand and continues that is why he imprisoned the girl linked with the abyss, and says surely Pandora would love to study her. And he also wants to take break and threatens that if Pandora know his true name they will execute him. But Oz stands before him and threatens he can use Jack and turn all his words against him. Barma raises his weapon and at that moment Gilbert pulls his gun and break his knife, so Barma decides to surrender. On their way home Break tells them my real name is Kevin Regnard and my family were knights serving the Sinclair house. Oz sadly says those who were killed by a rival family. Break replies yes, but that is not exactly the truth. 50 years ago there were many troubles among noble classes. One day I was outside the castle with the Sinclair girl. We learned a traitor killed my master, and I was just a fool torturing myself with regret and thoughts. Until one day I heard a demon voice telling me to change the past and you know the rest of the story. Oz sadly says and still you could not change the past. Break replies no I did change it because Alice really agreed to change my past and grant me a wish. When I left the abyss and opened my eyes I found myself before the Rainsworth family gate of Sharon and strangely that world was 30 years ahead of mine. Oz asks and the past? Break says it changed and my master was not killed by the traitor but in exchange the whole family died. If I had not changed the past they would all be alive and only one dead and his little daughter still alive. But I am the reason she died and that was something I should not have interfered with. Oz tries to comfort him. And the next day Oz and Alice continue fighting the illegal contractors to find Alice's memories, but days pass and they do not find anything so they conclude they are very rare, and when they return home Break tells them if we want to know what happened 100 years ago we must ask Vincent, and Oz tells them we are all connected to what happened then in some way. And at night Gilbert decides to go to Vincent's mansion, but he looks from the window and sees Oz and Alice came too, and there he finds a party so he says this is in my favor so I can get inside. Oz and Alice meet Echo and she tells them Vincent is not there, and at the same time Gilbert reaches Vincent's room and Vincent welcomes him, so Gilbert tells him you know I did not come here to see your face, and asks what happened 100 years ago in Sabri. Vincent replies no matter how much you ask the answer is the same. I like you do not remember, so Gilbert leaves and goes. Vincent asks Echo did you send away Oz and Alice? She says yes, and he replies no one should know what happened 100 years ago. And the next day Oz looks at his clock and tells them I have an idea, and takes them all and goes to the cemetery where he found the clock maybe they find something there, and tells them when we went there again the Baskerville tried to stop us so maybe they hide something, but they do not find anything there. And Oz and Gilbert go talk a bit. Suddenly the wall breaks and they find a chain in front of them. Sharon enters behind and destroys its head, and tells them there is trouble. They go out and find many chains attacking Alice, so Gilbert releases her power and Alice starts cutting them. Alice feels something strange so she goes up the hill and they see the city burning. They go to the city quickly and find an invasion of chains attacking people and destroying the city. And the army goes out to fight the chains with pistols and manages to kill some of them. Oz and the rest help people evacuate the city, and Gilbert thinks the cause of all this is the Baskerville. Break replies no I do not think so. Even they do not have the power to do that. Alice tells them the will of the abyss is behind all this. I have no proof but I feel it. Then Gilbert releases B-Rabbit's power and she starts killing the chains. At the same moment Sharon enters and summons Equus and he burns the chains with his purple flames. Break draws his sword and charges at the chains cutting them. They find a chain about to kill a woman so Oz saves her. Then she tells him her son is in the burning house, so Oz runs inside and grabs him. But the fire had destroyed the place. But luckily B-Rabbit saved them. Alice notices Oz cannot handle all the energy she is taking from him so she returns to human form, and on the other side Sharon is also exhausted and Equus disappears, so Break finds no other solution but to use Mad Hatter, and indeed he summons it and wipes out all the chains in the city instantly, and Break bleeds heavily after and loses consciousness. Oz and Alice search for the others, but Alice tells us the trouble is not over yet. Suddenly an icy storm hits the city, so they enter an empty house and light a fire. But suddenly the ground cracks and a chain comes out. Oz shoots twice but cannot kill it, so he grabs Alice and escapes. Strangely on their way they meet the Baskerville and they help them under orders from their organization because Oz is the only one who can stop what is happening, and before they leave they tell Oz when we meet next time we will be normal enemies. At the same time reinforcements arrive from Pandora as insects throwing fire on the chains burning them. Then Oz and Alice meet the others. Suddenly a huge monster appears burning all Pandora's support, and then starts destroying the city, so Gilbert activates B-Rabbit again. But her strike does not affect the monster. She tries to tie it with her chains but the monster breaks them easily. The monster fires flames at Alice so Oz worries and runs toward them. Alice attacks the monster again and with every strike a memory with Jack appears before her, but the monster grabs her and throws her on a building, and is about to fire flames to kill her. So Oz screams at the top of his voice and tells it stop. The monster's head rises to the sky and shoots flames. Suddenly its body turns to stone and Oz and Alice find a memory of hers activated. It is Alice riding a boat with Jack, and he was telling her this is goodbye Alice. This time will be the last I know how to play with you, so Alice cries hard. And on the riverbank they see Alice's twin with white hair looking at them then turning her back and leaving. They come out of the memory and find the monster shattered and turned to ash. And the next day Oscar tells Oz that they will return to their family's house. But Oz is not excited and does not feel like he wants to return, so Oscar asks him because of your father right? Oz gets surprised and tells them recently I became able to ignore those things that upset me. But I think I did not forget everything. And I do not know if I return after 10 years what his reaction will be. Oscar shocks him and says your father is not even there anymore and we do not know where he lives at all. On the other side Sharon asks Break why Oz has the ability to control the abyss. Break replies until now we do not know what happened 100 years ago in the Sabri tragedy. But we know now that the will of the abyss has feelings toward Jack. And I think Oz is like a version of Jack in appearance and personality as if he is instead of him. Sharon asks him you mean the will of the abyss listen to Oz because she sees Jack in him? He says I think we need to rethink the goal of the Baskerville again. Since Oz is the key to reach the will of the abyss. The strange thing is the Baskerville did not capture him, they threw him into the abyss. In other words I think they used him as a sacrifice to change something related to the abyss. At the same time Oz and the others arrive at the Bazarius mansion and they all have lunch together. Oscar tells him I am sorry but we lost hope to find your father and we hope you will be the new Duke of the house. But there is a problem which is that your father before leaving signed a contract with the chain named Griffin. Oz asks what does this griffin look like? Oscar replies its picture is on the painting behind you. Gilbert tries to stop him from looking quickly, but as soon as Oz sees the painting he falls to the ground in shock. Because that chain is the one who threw him into the abyss and that means his father was the cause. Oz goes to his room and they leave him alone for a while but Alice cannot stand it and follows him. Oz tells her since he hated me from the start, I thought maybe I could do something to make him love me. But that was just a hopeless dream. From the beginning he never planned to accept me. Now I understood my sins and why he wanted to punish me for them. Because of the connection between me and the Sabri tragedy and my ability to control the abyss. Oz gets angry and asks who am I exactly? And why everyone rejects me, and says I am me. And I am not Jack. And I had nothing to do with the will of the abyss at all. Alice comes closer and tells him we will search for ourselves and our true identity together. And before she leaves she asks him if no one accepts you does that mean there is no reason for you to live? The next day Oz comes in and approaches Break and asks him to tell him the location of the Baskerville to meet his father. Break asks what will you do when you meet him? Oz begs him to tell the place without questions, so they all search in papers and records until they actually find the location of the house, which is in Sabri. They all go there and find the entire city destroyed, and in front of them appear all the members of the Baskerville. And they ask him do you really want to see the one who threw you into the abyss? And say we will grant your wish. They all disappear and the griffin of his father appears. Suddenly Gilbert and Break get chained and pulled to the abyss, and after them Alice and Oz. So Oz calls on B-Rabbit and activates Alice's power without Gilbert's help. She breaks the chains that tied them and blocks its leg. And with one strike from Oz's power they destroy the griffin. Oz's father appears on top of a building. Oz approaches him and says I may be shy and full of flaws but I will not run from reality again. And it does not matter who I am or why I was even born, but I will not hesitate and I will never give up. And Oz leaves him and walks away.